a power user with Crash Long Johns. That's me. Well, we are going to look at today Excel table data to SharePoint list. Now, I got this before and people ask me, hey, how do I take the Excel data that I'm getting from a particular group in your organization and then be able to put that into a SharePoint list and then update that periodically, because that Excel list is going to be sent to that person on a weekly, monthly, let's even say bi-weekly basis or so forth. And that needs to be updated for that SharePoint list. But how do I get it from Excel to SharePoint and then update that when I need to? Well, the good news is you can definitely do that with a SharePoint Automate combination to be able to make where you can get that information updated on that weekly run or whatever. So in this, we're going to break it out into 3 different videos just to help kind of keep it down into bite-sized chunks to help you be able to understand how everything works. So in this episode, we're going to actually look at how to get started getting the SharePoint and the Excel set up so that way it will work for when we get to part 2 and part 3 of the series, utilizing the Automate to make the updates. With that said, let's get started and jump over the computer. Now that with the computer, you'll see that I have SharePoint opened up. I'm at my SharePoint site, Crash Long Johns. And let's first get things kind of started and set up before we get into our Excel sheet, kind of move things over into our document library. So first off, we want you to go ahead and create you a new document library, so that way you can place the document in the specific document library. That way it's in its own little home versus being in the all documents. You can do that, but this way it kind of keeps it in a neat little section. So that way you know kind of where that's at. In this case, I went ahead and already got myself a document library created. I got my document library here. It's just for this CAT2 transfer Excel data table to SharePoint list. And then next, what we want to go ahead and do is we also want to create a new list. Now with this new list, you're going to have the option blank list from existing list from Excel. Doubt that you're going to have an existing list in SharePoint that's going to have the exact same columns and everything that you need. So the option would be either blank list or from Excel. Now from Excel, you can definitely do that. You can get all the columns pulled in. That way it creates the columns. You can pick exactly like if it's going to be a date or a choice and get things updated and do it that way. However, I did find that because of utilizing from Excel, it does have a little bit of some quirkiness from the SharePoint side. So I'm going to show one list here, this cell file load, that what I did is I did from Excel. However, what I found out is if we look at location, right, or these are my column names that were in the Excel sheet. Well, when I hover over location, looking at the field equals field name, it says field 1. If I keep going, it says field 2, and etc. down at the bottom in the URL. Well, as we know, that field name comes into play a lot of times within not SharePoint, but Power Automate, and also with Power Apps from time to time. Did find with Power Apps though, if you tied an Excel sheet that was or a SharePoint list that was loaded from Excel, then it is still okay. It's still finding that the column name is location. So when you patch, it works. On the other side with Automate though, found that it doesn't like, because it's really wanting to know the field name. So if I use location, but the field name is actually field _1, it kind of has some issues there. Well, trying to figure out like, oh, well, what's the exact field name for each one? I probably wouldn't recommend doing the upload from Excel. What I would do is just go ahead and build you out just a blank list and create those columns. So for example, here's one that I did for our demonstration. If we look at location, it says location. So just once you have your SharePoint list created, it's just add the columns as normal, so that way it gets created and it would have the right field name. Just remember, whatever field name, whatever you call that column at the very beginning, that's always going to be its field name. So we got that going on for there. So, and then right now we see that we got everything that we need. We got our SharePoint list and everything. So now let's go ahead and talk about our Excel sheet that we're getting from either reporting team or from HR, whoever, whatever your situation might be, examples. But we're getting that on a weekly basis, or maybe it's a bi-weekly basis or monthly basis. What do I need to do to make sure that we have it all set to go so that way we can put it into our document library, so that way we have our main document? So what we have is we're going to have like 2 different Excel sheets. So, and the reason why is because we want to make sure that we're going to have what's going into our document library has a various different name. So in this example, I got my Excel file received. That's the file's name. That will vary from document to document. And then it has, the headers for the columns and then the information. However, there's no table, but we want to go ahead and create a copy of this. So we want to save as and do something different at the end. So we want to make sure it doesn't have the same name, because when the new file comes, it might have the same exact name. And when we're going to have to open these both up later, and you'll see that. And that way it doesn't say, oh, same file name, can't open it up from SharePoint and also from what you received maybe in an email with this file. So what we're going to do is I already went ahead and did that. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that out. And so here is my copy that I just added SBO at the end. Now this is what we're going to utilize to dump into our document library. First off, what we got to do is we're going to go ahead and highlight our information. Well, actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and add in, because we definitely need this. So let's go ahead and insert. We're going to have another column title, and its header, it's going to be title. Now in here, we're going to do item 1, and we're going to go ahead and just go down to this case. I'm just going to do 15. And this is basically what we're doing here is, let's say that my data could be 1,000 rows, but I know that over time either that number is going to fluctuate. So I want to have enough extra in my table so that way it can basically take into account for that growth or decrease. So in my case, we're just going to do 15. So I know that, okay, it's never going to be above 15, but it could shrink below 15. Now we're going to go ahead and highlight all of that right there. We are going to insert, we're going to create this a table. Make sure that you check mark my table has headers. Then go ahead and hit OK. Now that has been done. So we're going to go ahead and save this. And I'm going to go ahead and close this one out because I do not need it anymore. We're going to drag and drop that file that we just saved with the table and everything, and we're going to go ahead and drop that in there. And it's been saved. So there we go. We got our file now. Basically, we got our starter file, and we'll see how this all plays out in the next couple of videos in our series. But we have our list set up. So we got our CAT2 Excel data table, SharePoint list. We got it with our location, rider, trail name. These are all single line of text, just for simplicity for this video, just to show how this all works. And then we got our document library. So now what we're going to do is, in the next video of our series, we're going to get into how the automate is going to play in. So stick around for the next video, but hope you like this video for starters, to be able to get your Excel data table to SharePoint list. Thank you for stopping by. Until next time, keep learning.